Most people build lives that look strong until life hits them, but a few build minds so unbreakable they scare the world. If you're ready to become one of them, stay till the end and subscribe. This isn't just motivation, it's transformation through darkness. Comfort is the silent killer of strength. It lulls you into softness, whispering that peace is the goal, that ease is happiness, that stillness means safety. But the truth is darker. Comfort breeds decay. It feeds weakness like oxygen feeds fire. The mind that terrifies people isn't built in warmth. It's born in the cold. It's shaped through friction, forged in moments that tear you apart and demand you stand anyway. Every strong mind has bled in silence, has faced chaos without a map, has been left alone with pain that didn't end when it should have. When you stop running from discomfort, something inside you shifts. You stop begging for things to get easier. You stop waiting for calm. You start hunting storms, because you realize every blow that doesn't destroy you shapes something sharper inside you. The ordinary mind seeks protection. The powerful one seeks exposure. It walks straight into the fire just to see if it can still stand. People crave comfort because it makes them feel in control. But comfort is a lie. It keeps you tame, predictable, safe to handle. A strong mind is dangerous precisely because it rejects control. It looks at chaos and says, "I'll adapt." That terrifies people because they can't understand someone who doesn't need safety to survive. Every great transformation starts with discomfort. You lose things. People leave. The world stops making sense. You think it's punishment, but it's training. The collapse is the classroom. Pain becomes your instructor. And if you listen, you begin to understand that life isn't supposed to be soft. It's supposed to mold you. The moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to build?" that's when you start becoming someone unshakable. You have to be willing to destroy who you were. Every weak version of you will scream to survive. It will beg you to stay comfortable, to stay small, to stay liked. You kill that version with silence. You watch it fade, piece by piece, until all that remains is something quieter, colder, and infinitely stronger. The kind of strength that doesn't shout, the kind that doesn't break. And yes, people will feel it. They'll sense that you no longer need their approval. They'll see it in your eyes, the absence of fear, the calm in the middle of pressure. It unsettles them, because they still live in the world of comfort you escaped. They can't understand how you endure what they avoid. That's why your strength looks cruel to them. That's why your peace looks arrogant. But it's not arrogance, it's mastery. True power is calm in the face of chaos. It's control without emotion. It's knowing pain intimately and still smiling when it returns. You've seen the worst parts of life and accepted them. You've realized that the mind that adapts to pain owns the world, so burn your need for comfort. Let the easy version of yourself die. Let discomfort strip away your illusions until only truth remains. That's where power begins, in loss, in fear, in the absence of safety. When nothing protects you, everything teaches you. That's how you build a mind so strong it terrifies people. Because you no longer fear pain, you use it. You no longer seek comfort, you destroy it. And you no longer break, you watch others do. Most people drown in their own emotions. They let every feeling dictate their reality. Every disappointment rewrite their worth. Every rejection define their identity. They think feeling everything deeply makes them human. But the truth is, it makes them weak. The strong don't suppress emotion, they master it. They turn chaos into calculation. They turn pain into power. Emotional control is not about becoming numb. It's about becoming untouchable. It's when the storm comes and you don't move. You see anger rise, fear tighten, sadness whisper, and you simply observe. You don't react, you respond. You don't beg the world to be kind, you adjust to its cruelty. That's when people start to fear you, because they can no longer manipulate you. They can no longer control your reactions. And when they can't control your emotions, they can't control you. Detachment is misunderstood. People think it means being cold or heartless. It's not. It means being free. You stop being a slave to every emotional wave that passes through your mind. You start living from a deeper state, one that doesn't crumble when others project their chaos onto you. You see through their motives, their guilt, their drama, their games. You stop being bait. You stop being prey. When you detach, you begin to see emotion for what it is, a tool, its energy, meant to move you, not rule you. Anger can sharpen you, fear can alert you, sadness can deepen you, but only if you remain the master. The moment you let emotion become your master, you lose yourself. The world is full of people who mistake emotional expression for strength. But real strength is emotional precision, knowing when to feel, when to hold back, and when to let silence speak for you. The detached mind walks differently. It doesn't react to insults, it analyzes them. It doesn't panic when things fall apart, it studies the collapse. It doesn't seek revenge, it observes the weakness of those who need to harm. That kind of mental composure unsettles people. They call you cold because your calm reminds them how chaotic they are. They'll try to provoke you, test you, find your breaking point, but they never find it. Because your peace doesn't come from them, it comes from within. You learn that emotions are signals, not commands. They tell you something about the world. They don't define your response to it. You stop attaching to outcomes. You stop clinging to what could have been. You stop needing closure from people who were never capable of giving it. You stop giving others the privilege of controlling your inner world. That's where real freedom begins, when your emotions no longer belong to anyone else. And the more detached you become, the sharper your perception grows. You start noticing the small things others miss. You see patterns in behavior, energy in silence, lies beneath smiles. It's not paranoia, it's awareness. You start living with a calm that unsettles the fragile. You start carrying a quiet power that doesn't need validation. And that's terrifying to those who depend on control, because you've stepped beyond their reach. Most people can't handle detachment because they confuse stillness with emptiness. But stillness is strength. It's knowing you can face anything and not be consumed by it. The detached mind doesn't avoid feeling, it just refuses to drown. It watches pain pass, and it learns. It watches betrayal unfold, and it adapts. It watches love fade, and it stays centered. That's emotional supremacy. That's how you terrify the world. You no longer react. You observe. You no longer chase. You choose. And you no longer feel to survive. You feel to understand. Isolation is the mirror where the truth finally speaks. Most people spend their lives surrounded by noise, conversations, distractions, validation, anything that keeps them from hearing themselves. They call it connection, but it's escape. They fear silence because silence shows them what they've become. But the mind that terrifies people learns to live there, alone, unflinching, listening to the thoughts that others run from. That's where self-mastery begins, in the solitude that strips away illusion. When the world goes quiet, the masks fall off. You start seeing who you really are, without praise, without attention, without noise. You see your weakness, your fears, your lies, all the shadows you've hidden behind personality. It's brutal at first. The silence feels heavy. Every regret echoes. Every thought you buried claws its way up. But that's the purification. That's the breaking and rebuilding of the mind. Only those who stay through that silence emerge with clarity. The rest go back to the noise, addicted to distraction, terrified of reflection. Isolation is not loneliness, it's confrontation. You stop blaming the world and start seeing your part in the chaos. You stop waiting for people to save you. You realize no one's coming. And that realization hurts, but it's also freedom. Because once you stop expecting rescue, you become your own savior. You start building strength from within, instead of begging for it from others. That shift changes everything. The time you spend alone becomes sacred. You start analyzing your patterns. You notice how often you bend to please others, how much energy you give to people who don't deserve it, how easily you lose yourself in trying to be understood. And then, slowly, you stop. You stop explaining. You stop proving. You stop chasing belonging. The world loses its hold on you because you've learned to stand without it. The mind that thrives in isolation becomes terrifying because it no longer depends on society for identity. It doesn't need to be seen to exist. It doesn't need applause to feel alive. It draws its strength from its own thoughts, its own solitude, its own silence. And that makes others uncomfortable, because they can't control what they can't reach. People don't fear loneliness itself, they fear those who've mastered it. The longer you walk alone, the deeper you go into yourself. You begin to see how false most connections are, built on convenience, not depth, on fear of being alone, not genuine love. You realize solitude isn't punishment, it's purification. It burns away the weak attachments. It teaches you that peace is not found in company, but in clarity. The more you sit with yourself, the less you tolerate anything fake. That's why people who've embraced isolation seem cold, because they've outgrown the superficial. They've stopped needing to be understood. And that's what makes them powerful. They no longer seek validation, they radiate certainty. They move differently, speak less, observe more. They no longer chase belonging because they've become their own home. They can enter any space and remain untouched by its energy. That kind of stability frightens people. They can't figure out how you became so calm, so detached, so inwardly complete. They mistake your stillness for arrogance, but it's just peace, the kind that costs everything to earn. Isolation refines the mind. It removes the noise until only truth remains. It kills dependence. It gives birth to clarity. And once you've found that clarity, you can't go back. The world no longer has power over you. You've met your own darkness and survived. That's when people start to fear you, because you no longer need them. You've faced yourself and won. Clarity is the final evolution of strength. When the fog of illusion fades, what remains is vision so sharp it cuts through everything. Lies, manipulation, false kindness, false order. Most people don't want to see truth. They want comfort disguised as clarity. They want reality softened, filtered, made safe to look at. But the mind that terrifies people refuses that illusion. It sees the world as it is, raw, violent, indifferent, and adapts to it without flinching. That's not cruelty, that's awareness. Once you start seeing clearly, you can't unsee. You notice how much of life is built on delusion. People chase approval, thinking it's love. They chase distraction, thinking it's happiness. They worship control, thinking it's peace. You see through all of it. You start realizing that most human behavior is just fear pretending to be logic. Fear of rejection, fear of insignificance, fear of facing the truth that they have no control at all. But you do something rare. You stop resisting that truth. You let it burn through you until only clarity remains. That kind of sight isolates you. You stop playing the games others are addicted to. You stop pretending to care about what doesn't matter. You stop chasing validation from people who don't even understand themselves. And suddenly, you become the outsider, the observer, the one who watches everyone move like shadows, speaking loudly but saying nothing real. You become both invisible and impossible to ignore. Clarity has a cost. Once you see the truth about others, you'll see the truth about yourself. You'll notice your own motives, your own hypocrisies, your own self-deceptions. It's not pleasant, it's surgical, but it's necessary, because only when you see through yourself can you begin to master yourself. And mastery is what separates power from noise. Most people live blinded by their own reflection. You destroy the mirror, you face what's underneath. That's where strength begins, in brutal honesty with your own mind. When you carry ruthless clarity, you start speaking less. You stop arguing. You realize truth doesn't need to defend itself. It stands alone. You begin moving with a calm that feels unnatural to others, because you're no longer fooled by appearances, no longer pulled by emotion, no longer enslaved by expectation. People sense that. They don't understand it, but they feel it. They feel your stillness like pressure. They feel your awareness like light cutting through their facade. That's why it scares them. Clarity exposes. You see through manipulation before it even begins. You recognize the weakness in arrogance, the insecurity behind confidence, the emptiness behind charm. You no longer react to surface behavior. You read energy, intent, silence. You see the hunger in people's eyes, the fear in their laughter, the desperation behind their smiles. And that makes you untouchable, because you no longer take people at their words. You take them at their truth. Clarity is dangerous because it cannot be controlled. You can't deceive someone who sees through illusion. You can't break someone who understands the game. The clearer your vision becomes, the darker the world looks. But that's the point. You don't need it to look beautiful anymore. You need it to be real. And when you live in truth, you move differently. You walk away faster. You forgive without attachment. You stand alone without fear. You live without illusion. Most people don't fear your power. They fear your perception. Because power can be challenged, perception can't. It exposes what others hide. It cuts through what they pretend to be. And when you carry that kind of vision, you don't just see the world, you see through it. That's what makes your mind terrifying. It no longer believes, it knows. So in the end, strength isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be seen. It moves in silence, built from pain, carved by solitude, sharpened by truth. The world fears what it can't understand, and it will never understand a mind that no longer needs it. You become something beyond control, beyond validation, beyond fear. They'll call you distant, cold, ruthless. But you'll know the truth. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not ruthless. You're free. And freedom terrifies the weak